Have you ever wondered how in the hell do you land these big ass web design projects? How in the world do you do this? Well, I'm going to show you right now. So I have the 5 key tenets that I believe will help you achieve that goal, things that you will need. And then at the end, I'm going to go over the proposal that I used and that I actually won with that deal. So let's go ahead and get started. So number 1 is you need to learn the tenets of web design and sales, right? Specifically sales for web design. So one thing you really need to come to terms with is that no one is going to just hand you a $20,000 deal. That just rarely happens unless you know somebody. You will probably have to have some sort of social proof and a very good and deep understanding of web design and web development. And why would you want to take on a big project like 20K or anything above that if you weren't confident? So this isn't necessary for beginners. This is more for intermediate and advanced people. You can still do it. I mean, if you're a beginner, I would recommend at least 3 or 4 projects done before even considering something of this size. But if you feel confident in it and you really want to do it, then do it. I mean, I'm just saying that it would probably be smart to at least be of the intermediate level or advanced level before really trying to tackle something this big. One big thing is that you have to listen very, very intently as you move up the corporate ladder. Because chances are you're going to be dealing with a marketing director of some kind, and they're going to have to move it up the chain of command. Now, there are going to be some requirements that I would have you do so that your proposal just doesn't run off and you don't just waste a bunch of time, but we'll cover that in just a bit. So for now, you need to have an understanding of a sales framework. For a sales framework, I would definitely recommend Fox Web School. They have a fantastic sales framework, and it's separated into 4 different quadrants. So it's separated into marketing, sales, systems and support. So I would definitely recommend getting a notepad out and having these things open when you're having a discovery call with this person or with the marketing director in your first call. That way you can ask questions that they love, because it's like, okay, this person knows what they're talking about. They're going to help me see my blind spots. And that's really important, so they are taken care of. So their job is protected, because remember, they're also hiring you, which is going to look bad on them if you don't fulfill and the project isn't successful. And part of your job is selling the future relationship. So number 2 is understand the corporate hierarchy. If you worked in corporate structure before, you have a leg up. You have an understanding of this. You know that you're going to have to probably bring things in front of people for higher ups for their approval. There is a chain of command that you're going to have to follow and have to understand how to delegate. Now, one thing that I would highly recommend is that for the discovery call, what I love to do is I always love to ask, especially once the call is going really well and you can tell it's like, oh, great question. If they say stuff like, that's a really good question. Yes, that's a really good question. Oh man, that's really smart. I'm glad you asked that. And you feel like there's great banter going back and forth, and you feel like it's starting to close, or there's going to have to be next steps. Then you should always recommend, hey, who are all the decision makers in this process? And is there a way that we can all work together? And if I can talk to them with you, as you are a decision maker, have another decision maker, and I can answer all the questions at once. Like, is there, because as you know, I think you'll know that will save time. That will help expedient everything if you feel like we are a right fit. And sometimes they will say, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's talk. And they kind of know, like, okay, yeah, that's good. This guy's in my corner and he's going to help me kind of get this project moving forward. He seems like the right fit. I do want him in front of that person and a part of it is like they're kind of taking responsibility off themselves and putting that on the owner in a way, or their supervisor, because it's like, okay, now he's part of the decision making process, so not all the responsibility is going to be on me. So that will usually help with that. Third, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but you aren't selling yourself, you are selling the future relationship. One thing that you will need to be very, very aware of is that you do not want to come off desperate. You don't want to come off impatient. You want to come off calm, stoic, excited. I guess not so stoic, but you want to come off excited, very happy, grateful, and very attentive and a great listener, not talking over them, not trying to force your priority or your what you think should be best all the time. There's a time and a place for that, but they already have a process and plan in mind. So you want to make sure that you try to align with them as best as you can while withholding to your own principles, right? So you never want to do anything outside your principles, especially if someone's ever disrespectful to you. Then you don't want to just be a walking doormat, and you shouldn't. But you need to understand that they have a process in mind. So you should ask about that process, ask what they expect, and just go from there and just figure out how you guys can really have a beautiful, respectful relationship. One thing that I would always have is that sometimes they would ask me on Upwork, right? Here's my email, here's my phone number, just go ahead and call me tomorrow. And I would tell them, listen, I would love to, but I can't send out information before we started a contract, right? So we'll need to keep things in Upwork for now. If you want to work together. And a lot of times that would scare people off, or like not them, but it would scare. I know that a lot. I know that's the other thing, is it differentiates me from everyone else, because everyone just wants to deal. Whereas like that kind of made it clear that I abide by policies and I am a professional and I follow through with professionalism. So while all these other people are hitting them up, doing what they say, I'm kind of creating a little bit of guardrails and conditions on the relationship that they will have to respect, and they have to jump through hoops to talk with me, to work with me. And a lot of people would be like, and since it's 20K, 30K, it'd be like, oh, that's kind of high altitude. Like I really want, but people really respect that at that level. And they're like, well, this guy, and then I explained it to them, and I said, like, I apologize for the inconvenience on the call. I apologize for the inconvenience, but I do abide by policies. I am a professional, and so Upwork has been good to me. So that's the reason why I decided to adhere to their policies as much as I would adhere to yours. And that usually just impresses the hell out of them. They're like, well, shit. I mean, everyone else kind of just did what they wanted to do, but you're the only one that actually stayed disciplined and had self-control. And that's very useful in a project, and especially as project development. Remember, you aren't selling yourself. You're selling the future relationship, because you're also going to be probably working with them for, if it's anywhere around 20K, you're probably going to be working with them for, let's say, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months sometimes, right? So you're going to be talking to them a lot. So they need to know, like, can I spend this much time with this person without, blowing my brains out? So there's that. Number 4 is, this is for intermediate advanced people. I just want to hit that home because you don't want to be fumbling on the finish line of a 20K deal, especially if it's something from Upwork. And that's where I'm going to talk about where to find these people. It's where I usually find them, is through Upwork, but not all the time. But we'll talk about it in a second. But I just want to hammer this home, is you need to be careful with these things, because, with a longer, you do have more time, you do have more, you have more leeway in a sense of time to work with, usually, not all the time. But you need to be careful, because, these are usually much more serious companies. They take themselves very, very seriously. So you should take the project very, very seriously. And I know that may go without saying, but even in my past, there were times where I probably didn't take it as seriously as I should have. And luckily, it never turned out too bad. But there were times where it got very hairy, very, very hairy. And, that really taught us a lesson. Like, for example, we don't work with Embraco, but for this one company, we did try to work with Embraco. We made it happen, but I will never do that again. That was a very difficult time, and especially on my brother. And I never want to do that again. Never want to put him in that position again. It was just really, really bad. So I would say, like, understand what you're really great at. Probably stay in your lane as much as you can. The nature of web design is kind of like multiple lanes, but there is a difference between always working in WordPress and then just deciding to go and work in Braco or something, or Angular. Oh my God. Like if you were a WordPress guy and then all of a sudden somebody was you're about to sell a contract and they were like, well, we only work with Angular. You better be careful, because that would be bad. Don't do that. Oh my God. If it was Angular or something, or Vue.js. Oh man. You'd be okay. So, lastly, I will be going over the proposal that actually won with this $20,000 deal, 19,000, something like that. And let's go ahead and dive in. All right. So this is the exact proposal that I used to, actually land this job. So. All right, so this is the exact proposal that I used to land this job. It's for a really awesome company called GreenSpot. They were absolutely amazing to work with. But here's the proposal. Let's just go over the proposal. Okay, so let's look at their job listing first, actually. Please read the attached RFP and create a brief. Our goal is to create a brand new website for GreenSpot that will appeal to investors, B2B, clients, and drivers in that order. The look and feel should demonstrate sleek sophistication. GreenSpot should be seen as a grand-scale company that can take on grand-scale clients. So we are looking for a team to execute all aspects of the web design and development task. And now here's the other thing is that, you always want to try to think of a differentiator, a way to make yourself unique to the proposal and to the job as much as possible. And the one thing that really separates me is I also have my brother, who I add on as a videographer, right? Because I looked at their website and I was like, okay, they might need a website. In their brief, actually, they talked about wanting, there's some sensitive information in the brief, so I can't give that out, but in the brief, they specify that they would love video editing. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just put that in there. Now, that's my differentiator is my brother. He's, I'm his differentiator on his proposals as well. But you break it down. So I really, and the RFP was very structured, and it asked for things. And so that's the other thing is, like, for these, you have to be very, very detail oriented. You have to really see a lot of, you want to be as cogent as possible, meaning have as much clarity as possible in your proposal, in the initial cover letter, right? That will make it stand out a lot. It's just the fact that you put in so much thought, right? So, hey, GreenSpot team, so this is my intro, and I used one of my previous people. So basically, I structured it as an intro, and then I asked them a really core question that wasn't answered, that wasn't in the RFP. So that's the other thing is that you don't want to double what people are asking for, or if they've already told you. So if they've already told you, hey, we want 32 pages, and then you ask how many pages, then they're like, okay, you didn't read the RFP. So, and then, but if your cover letter is still outlined in a nice way, then it's still like, a possibility that they'll keep moving forward. But you have to remind yourself that, depending on how many applicants, I mean, the higher the competition. So you have, you only have so many strikes, and you don't even have one. You want to make it you want to make your proposal as easy to digest as possible. So that's why I would absolutely recommend that you do copywriting. I feel like I'm a above average copywriter. I need to work on it, but here, obviously, I've worked on this proposal a lot. This cover letter. I have 2 YouTube channels, portfolio. This is the copy and paste section. Actually, right here. This is all copy and paste. The rest of that is copy and paste, right? It's just copy paste. But this is the intro. This is the custom I did, right? So, and then I broke it up by my team, timeline, user training and support, hardware, right? Oh, geez, I'm not even sure why it's called hardware. I didn't even see that, hardware. That should have been hosting. Okay, well, luckily hopefully she's probably like, I wonder what he means by hardware. Or just thinking that since I'm a expert, that she's like, oh, do they call it hardware? So that's kind of my bad. And of course I ran this through Grammarly. So of course you want to, I am not the best at grammar, to be honest. I am not the best at all. And I wouldn't be surprised if somebody found another grammar in here somehow. It's just, just not that great at it. But anyways, so I hope this helps you. You can, I of course I wouldn't recommend taking this exactly, like it wouldn't be smart. You should adapt it to your own. But I hope it helps you, and please, comment with any questions, and, don't forget to subscribe. That would be really, really helpful. Thank you guys so much. And yeah, we'll talk to you soon.